Welcome back to another episode of the Arden 8-port Rotrex Supercharged build diary. As per normal, if you haven't seen previous versions or previous episodes, then follow the link somewhere up above, somewhere, to get caught up on what we're doing. I think in the last one, what was I doing? I can't remember. It was that long since I filmed it now. No doubt I was building bits and trying to find bits that didn't fit and shit like that. Right, it is now Friday night, bank holiday weekend again, so guess what I'm doing all bank holiday? Yep, fixing a car. Building an engine, fixing a car, working through my list of parts that I've got. This afternoon I took the time off work and went to see Jonathan at JDM Dyno, which you'll have seen on some of the old videos where, well, obviously I've been having the minis dynoed, and he welded on my mounting flange to the plenum. See that? And I've just got to smooth it off next. He also did some die grinding inside here to get rid of some of the the casting flash and stuff, where it was sticking up. It was just where they drilled the bare casting and it needed taking out because it was creating a step, so that's to do. I'll also drill and tap that to 1/8 MPT for that little brass union, wherever I've put it, somewhere safe. And that one there needs drilling to M14 by 1.5, which is one of the parts that came the other day. Set of taps, and that'll be for the, what's that one for? That's the air temperature takeoff. That's that word. What else? I'll do the dry fit of the throttle body to there. I might need to modify the bolts where they come through. If you can see that, there's not a lot of room on two of them between the casting and the hole. Just those two, I think. The bottom two, these two down here, look alright. There's plenty of room around the back. So that's probably going to be Friday night's job. Last night I got the clutch all cleaned up because it was a bit grimy and it had gone rusty with sitting with salt and crap in it. So the clutch is all on. So that's pretty much it for the engine block for the moment. I need to do a lot of painting on it, give it a fresh coat of paint because it's looking pretty grotty where I've cleaned it off and rubbed off the paint. And I also need to see about getting the cylinder head done yet for the dry decking. I'm sort of half tempted to just do it myself because it's just an alloy head. I've just got to drill a hole the right size in it. It's already got a flat end on it, so there's no need to put it in the milling machine. Talking about milling, I spoke to Jonathan about perhaps making up some sort of plaque to go on the front of here, and rather than it saying Mini Spares 8-port, probably have something like Mini Performance Engineering 8-port Supercharged or something, you know, that sort of gist. And he can do the milling and take this part off if I want to have a plate sunk inside that, but we'll see about that near the time. So the plans for this bank holiday weekend are basically to crack on with what I can. I think there's a possibility I could get the engine back in the car. Whether I put the engine in without the cylinder head, I'm not entirely sure yet. There's always the chance that if I do that I might have something disastrous happen, like snap a stud in the block, in which case it would need to come back out again really. So perhaps I might just wait until I've got the cylinder head fully done before I put the engine back in the car. But there's also wiring in the car that needs attention, like I've said in the previous video. Dash will have to come out, old dual lambda gauge will have to come out, and the wiring for that, put the new boost gauge in, wire that up and extend the 5-volt output from the boost gauge across to the ECU. So that's going to keep me busy, I think, but I'll just have to see how I can come on with getting this cylinder head done, because that's going to be the next hold up. Right, welcome back. It's Sunday afternoon, bank holiday weekend, another bank holiday. Progress report. As you can see beside me, I've got quite a lot of it put together. What I've done is I've finished off the plenum and I've pinned it all up, and I've tapped it for all these takeoffs, air temp, boost gauge, and that's the one for the dump valve. And then I've assembled it all loosely on the car. The cylinder head's not fastened down or anything like that, but it's all just, it's not in the car, is it? I've assembled it all loosely. Obviously it's not all tightened up yet because I still need to do the cylinder head. But what I've done is just assembled it so I can see what other problems I've got, what's fitting, what isn't fitting, before I fit it in the car. And as you can tell, it's quite tight on space. That's the adapter I made for the oil temperature. I just found a brass adapter there that came out of an old oil pressure gauge, I think it was, and it was a 1/4 MPT to 1/8 MPT, and then I just had to drill out the center of it to enable the probe on the temperature gauge sender to go inside the brass and into the oil. Obviously I've used a different K&N filter, so that I've actually got room to put my oil pressure gauge and bits and pieces in there. That bit sticking out is just going to be where the dump valve is going to go. It's 25mm, so it's going to sit in here somewhere, so that's just overlong for the moment. It's just a case of it's sitting there. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's all buttoned up as it's to go in the car, but for the moment I'll just strip it all down again, and now that I know it all goes together, and then I need to get the cylinder head done. I've done the trigger wheel at the far side. I've welded it on to the pulley, made a nice job with that, even if I do say so myself. So that's painted. I'm just waiting for the paint to dry on that before I clamp it all up. And then I'm going to put the radiator on the far end, and well, I can't put the final belt on because I bought a belt yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, and it was too short, way too short. It was 1520 long, and I think I need at least a 1600 after trying that. I thought I'd allowed plenty, but I obviously hadn't, so I needed to get a new belt, and I can't get one until Tuesday at the earliest because it's bank holiday Monday tomorrow and everywhere's shut. So that means I can't put it in the car, which was my plan for this weekend. I was going to put like the gearbox and the radiator and all that in the car, and I wanted the timing belt needs to be on before the radiator assembly goes in place because it's going to be so tight getting the timing belt in place otherwise. So I'll put the radiator and that on at the far side, and then I need to make some sort of bracket off that bottom engine mounting bracket, radiator bracket, to mount my trigger wheel sensor. I don't know how easy that's going to be. I've got some bits and pieces left over from previous versions, but until I get that radiator on, I'm not going to be able to see exactly how it all lines up. But that'll be my next job. Once I'll probably leave this on for the moment, but I'll go and stick the radiator on the far end and try and have a look and see what room I have got or haven't got, as is the case with most stuff on this motor at the moment. Okay then, it is Monday evening, progress report. As you can see, I've got the new AEM boost gauge in. It took a bit of doing, a lot of wiring to remove. If you look down on the floor, that is most of the wiring that belongs to the old dual lambda gauge. And of course there's all the both lambdas as well, so there's more wiring than just that, but it was all pre-formed, so you couldn't chop it to length when you were finished, so it was all hidden in behind the dash. So there's an awful lot less wires in behind the dash now. I did have an issue whereby I couldn't get the multi-plug through the bulkhead, so I had to de-pin it, which was a bit of a nightmare, and it hasn't gone back together as well. But at least the new boost gauge is in and it's all ready to fire up. I've spent some time this afternoon cleaning up the bulkhead area, got rid of the wires, the excess wires as I've said, and you can see I've cleaned up a bit in both corners and got rid of a lot of the salt and crap that was in there. In the middle there's still the cam sensor wires to tuck away out of sight, and this is the wire for the boost gauge. It might not be long enough. By the time I've routed it neatly around the engine base, I'll probably have to extend it, I think, which shouldn't be any big deal. But yeah, it's not looking a million miles off in here. I could do with re-gluing that heat reflective stuff because it's starting to come off, and maybe put some more gold tape on there. It's got a bit damaged from the exhaust manifold. Progress report on the engine. Nothing much happened this afternoon because obviously I've been doing that wiring. So all that I've done is I've mounted up the trigger wheel and tightened it up severely bloody tight, and then just marked it so I can see if it moves. And I've also done well, you can't really see it, but on here I've tapped a hole in there and I've made or remade an existing trigger bracket, so it's going to point it there nicely, and it's just, there's bits of it. The main part's just lying over there, just getting painted at the moment. So a lot of stuff getting painted at the moment. Radiator's getting painted because it had all corroded. Well, 5 years of use and sitting with a winter's worth of salt on it. So yeah, just general care and maintenance or something for the moment, until I get my belt and I can finish that test fit and then take the cylinder head off, and I put the belt on and I can put the block in the car. Well, that's the plan. Okay, welcome back. It's Wednesday evening. I spent the past couple of days doing a bit of painting and decorating on the various engine parts that have come out. A couple of issues have read the heads, and I'll show you through them first. Number one is the water pump clearance for the main water pipe between the water pump and the pulley. So this is the issue here. You can see there ain't no gap in there, so you can't get the pipe on without it rubbing. So the remedy for that is to employ this bit of pipe, which I just got off eBay. I'm going to get it to fit inside there. It's the exact same diameter, so perhaps inside there needs a bit of work, or the outside of the pipe does. It feels a bit rough. And basically I'm going to extend the end of the water pump out this way so it's past the pulley. So that's going to get altered so it fits inside nicely there. Slide it in, JB weld it in, and then on the outside of that get this old water pump. I had stacks of them and I chucked them all out recently, so I've had to take this one off another engine. So I'm going to cut the end off that and stick it on the end of that metal pipe, and then it'll be about here somewhere, which will clear the pulley and the belt nicely, and obviously the bottom hose can go on there and into the radiator. Everything on here is back to how it was. I had to put 3 spacers in there just to get the fan out past the inner edge of the bottom cowling, so it clears nicely now. The other issue I've had is this. You can't really see it as well there, but you can see that the extra hole that's been drilled is slightly offset, and as well as being offset, which way is it? Yeah, it's slightly too far that way. It's also on the piss, so you can't actually put the head stud in there and put the head in because it's at too much of an angle leaning and the head won't go on, so you have to put the head on then put that stud back in. This one's not exactly brilliant either, but at least the head will go on with all these ones in situ, but it will not go on at all with that extra head stud in place. So that's that. I'm cleaning up the head just over there. It's just on the bench, getting a decork and a little bit of attention. And what I'm going to do tonight is finish reassembling this end of the engine. And the plan was to drop the block and the gearbox and the radiator back in the car, but I need the garage doors open to do that. I need to be sort of half in and half out of the garage, and it's absolutely chucking it down outside, so that isn't going to happen tonight. So here we have the parts of the pulley. That's the pulley as it came. Then this was the internal spacer that sat in it. But obviously this part was about that long, and it had an M10 bolt in it. So that wasn't going to fit on the timing cover in there. So what I've done is I got a piece of supposedly 10mm pipe with a 6mm bore, which turned out to not be 6mm, because I was stupidly thinking that the threads in the timing cover were 6mm as in M6, but they weren't, the quarter. So I had to drill that out to the right size, and then that sits in there like that, and that sits, what I did was I drilled out the hole in here to make it deeper, so that sits inside the timing cover, and then the bolt goes through like that. And that's how it's held in place, like so. And that goes inside the timing cover in there. There's not much room to put anything in. So this, obviously this is always going to be the prototype of the 8-port supercharger. So I think I'll do something different next time and make it a bit beefier. But we'll try this for now and see what happens.